Hello, everybody. Welcome to Divulgence, and welcome to a special New Year's Eve end of the year episode. We're going to try to talk about as much as we can today. Obviously, a lot happens in a year. A lot's happened in the last year. We've seen, a new old U.S. president, new Canadian prime minister, a new pope, who's also, I think, the first American pope. We've seen Trump spending half the year working towards a peace prize, only to kind of pull the rug from under us and maybe start some new wars for the new year. We've seen a lot of people pass away, unfortunately, from Ozzy Osbourne to Hulk Hogan to the recent tragedy with Rob Reiner, as well as the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We've seen the UK go crazy over flags. We've seen the United States go crazy over salutes. We went through the P. Diddy trial, a lot of Mendez brothers drama in the courtroom, as well as criminal trials of Karen Reed and Brian Kohberger. A lot of big things going on with immigration, people and the war on freedom of speech, old wars, new wars, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to be talking about all that and more. Joining me here today, we have author, writer, podcaster, and actually he was one of the first people on. He was one of the first people on the first episode of Divulgence, Donald Jeffries. We have from the Terrorisk podcast, we have Chris. We have Bruce de Torres, who is an author, podcaster, former rock legend, and he was also on the first episode of Divulgence. We have author Donnie Gebert. We have researcher Habsburg Jawlly West, and we also have researcher Jay from Illinois. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your holidays, your busy holidays, and being here with us.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
We got a lot to talk about, so I guess we'll maybe just start with one of the most obvious things is Trump. He came in again. I think he may be the only president to be elected, kind of try to be kicked out, charged, put in jail, all this, lose, and then come back to the next election and win. He filled his cabinet and his staff with a lot of interesting characters. There's the whole drama with Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, kind of bringing everyone like a camel to water and not letting them have a drink when it came to things like Epstein. The Charlie Kirk assassination case seems to be a little foggy, as well as, January 6th case, a lot of different cases. Now Dan Bongino seems to be leaving in January. There's, of course, Bondi the Clown and all of her circus tricks. There's been Doge. The list goes on. I don't know where to start here, but how about with you, Donald? What would you say? How would you define Donald Trump's first year, and what are your thoughts on how he's going to move forward next year? He's spoken a lot about immigration. There's things like a lot of things that he wants to do with tech. I think he wants to refill Guantanamo Bay. I think he wants to focus on Doge more. I'm seeing some reports, even though it doesn't seem like Doge was all that great to begin with. So what are your thoughts on that big cake, Donald?
I think it started out, Trump 2.0 started out very promisingly. I was I know these people are set out to fool you, and so I had no real illusions. But he did start out well. He pardoned the J6 people, which is a good thing. Too late, maybe, but better late than never. He wrote some executive orders that I had suggested he'd write in the first place, like banning birthright citizenship. Of course, they're all struck down by federal judges, and part of the problem with the judicial review. I think I'm the only one talking about that, but the right doesn't seem to get the message that this is a horrible thing, judicial review, because it thwarts the will of the people. But and Doge, I love the idea of Doge. And when people were criticizing it at the time, I said, if most of you still like Ron Paul, even as black-pilled as most people are in the alt media, most of them still like Ron Paul. If Ron Paul had somehow not been cheated out of the primaries and everything and had been elected president, Doge is the kind of thing he would have done. You wouldn't have been surprised at all. And in fact, he was an advisor to Elon Musk. He was working with him on Doge. So I had great hopes for that. And the U.S. aid, that was just one, kind of smaller agency, and just the disclosures were astounding. And what was kind of glossed over was that they found that 6,000 journalists from around the world were being paid by U.S. taxpayers in an obvious huge extension of Operation Mockingbird, which is more alive and well than ever. And Tulsi Gabbard was supposed to be looking into that a few months ago. And of course, like everything else with Trump, you never hear anything else about it. So I was very excited about that. Trump supposedly authorized an audit of the Pentagon, which would be interesting to say the least. But then, a month later, he gets the first $1 trillion defense budget. So, that's what you get with Trump. And but when the Epstein files were suddenly talked about again, Trump took a really dark turn. I don't know what happened to him, and he hasn't recovered since then. And that was about the same time he was ordered to bomb Iran, and he looked really bad doing it. He was so subservient, and then he acted the way he did at that press conference when somebody brought up the Epstein. He's Epstein, why do you keep talking about him? And it made him look so bad, and it was kind of out of character for him. And he's never recovered from that. I think he lost a lot of his base. I think he still has some people that are loyal to him. But I think the biggest story of 2025 is the fact that along with the Charlie Kirk assassination and Candace Owens' work on it, has really exposed Zionism and the fact that it can't be defended. And so that's why you're seeing a rift now developing, and you're having alliances like Thomas Massey with the Squad and people like that. So I think the left-right paradigm is breaking down, and you're going to see something like anti-Zionist versus pro-Zionist, because this Zionism is something that can't be defended. And once it gets exposed, and it is getting exposed, at least in the alt media now, the black-pilled people are, they never let it happen unless they want it to happen. Well, for whatever reason, it's getting exposed. I think that's a good thing, and it doesn't make Trump look very well. And I wrote a new Substack about the Epstein disclosures. My researcher Peter Seakosh and I, he went through these things, and just a couple of really incriminating things against Trump. That talked to a 13-year-old girl that talked about being on a yacht and being raped and having her baby thrown into Lake Michigan, and Trump was there witnessing it. It's kind of unclear if he raped her and impregnated her. I don't know. But there's that. And there's another one about a limo driver in 1995 that heard Trump talking to Jeffrey and saying so many disturbing things. He almost pulled the limo over and beat him up. And again, and the girl later supposedly blew her head off in question. So, but what's I find strange is that all the other documents are like JFK files. Bruce is familiar with that. They're all redacted. There are no names that have any significance at all. But the only documents that we've seen so far, there was one about Prince Andrew as well. Maybe they were throwing him under the bus, but Donald Trump's the only name that gets mentioned. No one else. There's nothing. All those pictures of Bill Clinton and Bill Gates with the girls with the black redacted faces and everything. No specific allegations against them. Now, I can't believe that Donald Trump's the only one that participated in these things. So I have to believe that we may be seeing something, especially with his behavior. We may be saying that this is a way they're going to ease him out of office. I mean, I don't make predictions, but I find it amazing that those really terrible allegations against him they didn't redact his name. And this is Trump's Justice Department doing this. They redacted all the other names. So are they protecting Noam Chomsky and the late Walter Cronkite and, late Michael Jackson and all these people that are seen in photographs with him? So you have to wonder what's going on there. But so that's kind of a long-winded way of saying I'm still a Trump agnostic in some ways, but I have no faith at all in him. He used to throw us some good crumbs once in a while. He took a dark turn halfway through this year, and he's just full, all the gold in the White House and this nonsense about putting his name over Kennedy's at the Kennedy Center. What I mean, it's unprecedented stuff, and he seems to be playing into the ridiculous image all the people with TDS have of him.
Yeah, there's lot more Kennedy Center drama. I think I don't know, there's supposed to be a concert or a party or something there for New Year's. I believe it's canceled. It might be canceled completely, but I think the musical acts were canceling. I think it was over the name change drama, and they just don't like Trump. And then I saw online that I'd have to confirm if it's real, but someone, I believe, bought up the domain names for like Kennedy, whatever you wanted to call it. So that's kind of funny. Clearly, it's really hard to expect what you're going to see with Trump, especially lately. Like you said, he took a dark turn with the Epstein files. He seems to, pivot 90 degrees every 72 hours, give or take, or less. Donnie, what are your thoughts on what, if anything, we can expect from Trump, and if continuing with Doge is a good idea, and any comments on the Epstein files?
I see most of what they're telling us now is pure horseshit. Pure. There's a lot of people saying it's a movie. Yeah, it's a production at least, and I'm almost past where I could. The group of people that were propagandizing us all the way back into the Walter Cronkite era, they're one group that's doing it. And now there's another group doing it, and they're trying to give us counter propaganda. And it's getting hard to tell who's the dickhead. So I don't watch a lot of the media anymore, because if they talk about something, they talk about the wrong thing. If they're going to highlight something, they highlight its asshole instead of its face. You don't have a description of the problem when you're done. You have an opinion and a pretend time solution, and it's all content creation. So, like, when you do your own research and you know how, a whole lot of people fall off the I shoot the messenger. So, as far as Doge, that was kind of, if you see the drama, like Elon Musk being angry with Trump, now they're all going to make friends. Oh, we're supposed to go in and do some stuff with okay. We were warned by Walton Friedman. There's nothing more permanent than a government program. Government efficiency is an oxymoron. However, the whole Doge program is supposed to clean that crap up. What has it been doing? Well, to be honest, from where I'm looking at it, they're going about as fast as humanly possible, but the dollar is what's at the end of the rainbow here. They have a printing press. The whole world doesn't like it. They couldn't refinance U.S. government debt. Suddenly we had something called a stable coin. Well, let me tell you, nothing between 0 and 1 in United States dollars is stable. Nothing. Because that is not a unit of measure, and I can make a green line go up and a red line go down. And somebody will tell me about price discovery theory. Somebody will have naked shorts open, because no adult would ever permit naked shorting. You would have to own that asset before you could short it, and you're just betting the price is going to go down. But there are no adults up there. So they've been lying to everyone aggressively since they put a bullet in JFK. And now we're all just like, until blockchain, everybody was just going to go to war with each other forever. Forever. There was no way to prevent international fraud without a blockchain system, and somebody would use jurisdictional arbitrage. The end. So I'm looking at bad reporting. I'm looking at people who don't know what reporting are getting caught up in who they really are in their real life, and they just get taken out of the public space, and the cast and the crew of Potemkia is falling apart, and I don't care. I like watching it fall apart because it's a stupid TV show, and I don't like it.
It seems like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but there seems to be among young people, seems to be this push, like, let things go right to the edge of the cliff and let it fall right off so that we can kind of start, destroy, rebuild kind of thing. What do you think that's what is needed, Donnie, or what do you think?
So many people are vested in government success that a failure is not permitted to happen until it happens of its own natural causes. U.S. government debt stopped being an intelligent discussion when they started the omnibus bill. That was in 97 or 98. Everything since then has been a propaganda campaign for Muppets. And we were just, if you're not a physicist, you don't know that the physicists are wrong until the last 5 years. If you're not a doctor, you don't know the doctors are wrong for the last 5 years. Economics, attorneys. Let's go down the list of things where AI is going to teach people how to do basic math and grammar, and we're going to clean up a whole bunch of crap. And that's what's going to happen. So I'm just kind of waiting for the illiterates to get wiped out by a tsunami of AI usage. And that's really what's going to happen.
Bruce, like Donald said, you've had a lot of experience with the JFK files. You wrote a book about it. What are your thoughts on how the Epstein files are going to play out? Do you think it's going to be kind of a mirror effect where it's just going to drag on? Names will come out, details will come out that might be shocking and big, and books will come out over time, and so much money will be made out of it, but essentially no one's going to necessarily go to jail, or no story will be concluded in the grand scheme of things. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are a blend of what Don talked about and how Donnie described things. It's fascinating to watch and try to anticipate the motivations behind a Trump, let's say. But as Donnie alluded, it's a clown show on fire and everyone's on acid. And to anticipate what's coming next, what comes to mind are the warnings of apparently well-informed people like Catherine Austin Fitts, one of many who shines a lot of light on some apparently very real things and really, really scary things, Jordan. So Epstein and that whole thing, when Don was talking, I wanted to ask him something like, looking at the Trump being hung out there, everyone else apparently redacted. It's as if, political leaders are competing for the positions and the approval of the money really behind the scenes, almost like they're performing this Game of Thrones, which I never watched, but I think it's like you battle for the entertainment of your rulers or something like that, right? Maybe that's what our major politicians are doing. And Don talked about black pill. As I understand, that's, the seduction of being completely hopeless and just saying, no one's driving the train. It's just a matter of time before we go off the rails into a wall. I'm just going to try and stay calm and comfort those around me who are freaking out more than me. I don't know if that's Donnie's position. That's all I got about that.
The people who run the printing press don't ever want to give it up. And any story that will kick it can 6 more months, 6 more months, 6 more months. That's it. They don't want to stop printing ever.
And when you think about the seed banks and their, the breakaway civilization that Catherine Austin Fitts talks about, I think they're prepared. I think because to unleash the bioweapon that was, the COVID-19 vax, with just almost apparently insane or suicidal negligence or ennui, they don't care about life any more than I really don't. I think they're too insane to care about life. So I really think everything's up for grab. And what it all boils down to is one's own spiritual imagination. What you think happens after you die. And there's a lot of hope to be had by certain angles of that. I'm happy to talk about that kind of stuff because it provides great sanity and happiness and power and grounding for me and many others.
And gratitude.
And gratitude. And it doesn't matter after we die whether I'm right or wrong about any idea I have on this side of death. It's the fact that it keeps me youthful, playful, and loving and encouraging and comforting. Bottom line is what we need to do, and this is, bottom line, we need to mother and father ourselves. Mother, comfort, restore, soothe, comfort. There, you're okay. And then encourage like a dad. It's another day. We got a lot to do. We're going to make a big mess. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. We're going to bleed. We're going to clean it all up, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get through it together. And is that all there is to life? Maybe.
Well, I think the biggest contention with those things isn't necessarily like, wanting to be comfortable or whatever. I think there's a lot of fear involved. Like, what if I fail? What if I don't get enough of something? So I think it really just comes down to the fact that, like, what's the worst that could happen? You die, you suffer. Oh, well, guess what? That's going to happen regardless. So, at that point, you might as well just be thankful that you got to live it all. Like, none of us have to be alive. If any of us were to die, nothing would change about this world. If humanity got wiped out, guess what? The universe would still exist. So none of us have to be here. We just want to be. And if we accept that, then all the spiritual insight and the goodness, I think, comes, because then you're more holistically balanced.
And if you bring like self-sufficiency back into it, that gives you like genuine happiness, like not having to rely on the system. You can do what you want to do. And as long as you have your friends and family, you really don't need anybody else. Obviously, I don't know how to garden, so I would run out of food. I'm dependent on that, but I don't know. Just you got to be self-sufficient in this day and age as much as you can be still.
Cannot allow the system to take all of the tactical and strategic choke points that allow us to eat and live. When you're organizing a society, that's fine. But when you're now owned by the thing you created and nobody seems to know, like the servants don't recognize their servants. And
I like JFK, a lot of the things, and I know it's early on in the administration, but so far we have naked Doritos is about the only thing we've gotten out of this big clean out of our food system. Hopefully we still see more. I'll give it time.
Do you mean RFK Jr.?
Yes, I'm sorry. I probably have JFK on the brain, but yes, RFK Jr. My apologies. I mean, I suppose big things are going on behind the scene, but I just thought when Trump took over, I think a lot of people thought we were going to see some quick action, like because he doesn't seem to care to disrupt the system. So why is this stuff taking so long to roll out?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the first arrest, as they keep saying, the first prosecution. They tried to get Comey and nothing happened. So somebody posted the other day on Fox, on Twitter, the guy was an ex-Fox guy, and he said, if there aren't any prosecutions out of the Somali scandal that, this kid, Nick Shirley, discovered on his own, because we don't have any real journalists in this country. And if this Tim Walsh doesn't have any repercussions for it, then there's no, obviously most of us don't think there's anything to MAGA already. But this guy is saying that, we should just completely give up on it. But I think that to RFK Jr., and I think Bruce probably feels like me, most people in the alt media hate RFK Jr. because most of them hate the Kennedys. I think that's probably his last offender. I read a lot about them. But I think RFK Jr. is trying to do something. His hands are so tight. He's got Rabbi Shmuley, this guy who they found when he had the audacity to name Dennis Kucinich as his campaign chair. I met Dennis Kucinich at the Turning the Tide convention just recently. One of my all-time heroes. This guy is as strong a critic of Israel and Zionism as ever existed in Congress. Why would somebody like RFK, who claims the Palestinians are pampered and all this nonsense that he doesn't possibly believe, why would he name that guy to run his presidential campaign? It's very obvious that someone had to talk with him. Kucinich quietly left the campaign, and suddenly this Rabbi Shmuley character shows up, and he's his handler. And he basically is tied into what I think he's maybe removed some dyes from food. I don't know. He said lots of great stuff, way more than Trump did. And his children's health defense record is great in court and everything else. They're for all the right things. His heart is in the right place, I think. But I think he's got a gun to his head. And I think he knows if he tries to do more than he's allowed to do, Trump will fire him. No question about it. So we'll see what he actually accomplished. But I think he did remove the hepatitis B vaccine for infants, I think, which is, very small thing. But why were any infants required to get hepatitis B? It was ridiculous. So I think he was able to do that. I don't know what else he can do. But, who else have we ever had in there that's trying to do anything? So I give him credit for attempting to do something.
It looks more like a show. It looks like we're being shown what the problem is. And if you think aggressive lobbying from American people was the problem, aggressive lobbying from other nations is the real problem, because Ukraine has a bottomless war budget when they're just a backwater, technically. Like on the world stage, they don't make enough to do what they've done, and they're getting propped up by who? And honestly, I look at it as criminal overlays. Like if you guys don't know, my book is basically jurisdictional arbitrage 101. So if you look at all the lines on the map, you're looking at different jurisdictions. But when you got to read Machiavelli, sit down in the position of a prince, remind everyone along those lines that I don't care who they are. I'm going to rewrite the rule book. And really the rule book goes all the way back to Babylon. We have like really good, solid principles and precedent. And these people have violated every criminal tenant, every civil tenant. They have, what's his name? He wrote The Great Taking, David Rogers Webb. He does a really good job about how the attorneys cored out all the statutes and how we could be, Ukraine's got a pipeline of money. Israel's got a pipeline of money. If you got the right amount of lobbying, there's a hole in Congress. You just tap it and you get money that comes out of there because they print it. And only so many people can keep that a secret before the secret is out. And now the world we're just looking at this blowback of what kind of ignorant nonsense comes out of a printing press. And it looks like this. All the way back to Babylon, the money trick. And the Talmud is Babylonian money magic and all the shitty lawyer things. That's all it is.
Donnie, what's your website where I can find all your work?
The null hypothesis of politics.com.
The first words again, what?
The null hypothesis of politics.com.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, how to automate a legislature is self-representation. Jay, you were talking about self-reliance. I demand that to not be represented because all of those things are fraud. All of them.
Well, I think you're talking too. The anarchist movement is growing. I mean, a lot of my followers are anarchists, and I used to engage them a little bit in debate because I believed in some kind of order, but I have no argument with them anymore. I don't know what the argument is against anarchy because there's no authority that's worth respecting.
So my only argument against, Anarchon is no ruler. And I just looked at it as a complicated problem of who thinks they know how to legislate for me because I'm better at it than you. Like if it was a game, who's number one in the world at chess? It's Magnus Carlsen. Who's number one in the world at legislative construction and automating a legislature? Me. I'm certain. It's a game. It's a game. And if you remove all the shitty lawyers, it becomes an 8th grade civics lesson and a task that anybody could do. But they are hiding the money printing. They're hiding the divine right of kings. They're hiding the right to legislate and tax. They're hiding all of it. And just behind jargon, really. And we're dealing with problems that started before electricity. More than 100 years do these problems exist. There's no one to blame. But you can point at the guy who's sitting in the chair and ask, why the hell isn't he doing anything about it? And then you find out what it really is in Washington. It's a lying, festering shit show of blackmail. And it's just a big secret printing press with a big media complex on top.
Jordan, can I ask Donnie a quick question?
Absolutely. You guys go at it.
Donnie, what do you know of or what do you think about Hamilton's American system of economics?
Economics I throw completely out the window for 4 reasons. 3 of them are economic. One of them is moral. The moral one is usury. That is the incentive to lend. If you take away the incentive to lend, the entire concept of economics falls apart. They also don't keep good ledgers, which is arguable, but then they always rely on infinite money. Nobody's doing proof of work. Nobody has a finite money supply. We go back to an interest rate and somebody can print and somebody's going to do bonds. And it's a big pinball machine when it's supposed to be a vending machine. And then they don't have a numeraire, a unit of measure that's scientific. So instead of measuring currency in kilowatt hours, they measure it in dollars, which is not a measure as of 1971, period. And when you stick it in a digital display, it becomes a shit show. Like Catherine, Catherine's great about following all of that fraud on all of the paperwork from 1971 until 2017. In the middle, it went digital, and there are digital attack vectors that Catherine is not a technician and she does not know about. So when I say they exploited the hell out of the distance between 0 and 1, you can stretch it a little bit in a digital display. I found this out where Bitcoin was trading and Ethereum was following it. Well, this is not supply and demand. This is bots making sure that somebody can't go too far away from each other in dollars. That's what it is. So when the law of supply and demand goes out the window because the bots are going to do what the bots do, the bots are going to do what the people with the biggest pot of money do, and everyone else is going to be intentionally given bad information so that they're working against the law of supply and demand for themselves because they don't know what's going on. Then the whole green line, red line, it's a Fourier series. It's a Fourier series.
How close are we to bubbles bursting and global depression, if at all, in your opinion?
I think a lot of that is the rich people who have their investment people on TV telling everybody about financial markets and the end of the world. But the United States dollar is how many kilowatt hours right now? You could buy 5-6 kilowatt hours. So when I say we don't have a global crash like the mark did, we can accept no problem that a United States dollar is worth a kilowatt hour and completely avoid a crash. But that means we go from 5 or 6 kilowatt hours per dollar to 1, and we could definitely back the dollar. Otherwise, we're just asking for lies, more bonds that are going to go to a war instead of decent R&D and clean streets and decent infrastructure. These people, listen, this is the biggest lie ever told. I appreciate it. I know what Sith Lords look like, and that's what we got right now. So they taught me a lot about lies. They taught me a lot.
Sorry, did you get your answer, Bruce?
Yes, and I'm just doing the impossible, keeping my mouth shut.
No, really. Somebody followed up or something.
No need, man.
No, I want to give some of the floor back to everybody here.
Yeah. Well, I have a question. It's interesting that you equate the dollar to a kilowatt hour. It's almost as if money is just representative of energy that either we've expended through labor or through someone else's labor. So it's pretty much just a store of time and energy spent on, say, a service or, harvesting a good. But then I guess the problem is when you give the Fed the ability to constantly print money, then it's almost like it's like an energetic form of diabetes, right? It's like the certificates that you're getting for the energy you spent, your fat, essentially, like your excess fat. It's kind of going down in value faster than you can accrue it, which I guess is the whole point of Bitcoin, right? It's supposed to be this kind of like alternative system where instead of gold, it's just pure math, and see how well that works, I guess.
It's not fraud. It's not fraud. You can't print them infinitely. Bitcoin removes some of those mechanics so that you can't abuse them, and then it shows what happens when you do.
Yeah.
Just beware of Bitcoin. It is a 20 transaction per second prototype, and Wall Street bought most of it, and they want everybody to look at Bitcoin. If you want to find out who knows what they're doing, ask them what the number 2 proof of work coin is on Earth. Everybody knows number 1 is Bitcoin, but if you want to test to see if these people who think they know crypto, ask them what number 2 is and look at the blank look on their face.
Is there a number 2?
Yeah.
I think that to make this a lot simpler discussion, I talk about, I'm no economist, but you need to understand what the Federal Reserve fractional lending system is, and that is legalized counterfeiting. And people need to understand that you can analyze money any way you want, but they have the right to legally counterfeit. They used to, because of the Federal Reserve, they used to have 10% reserves in hand, which meant they could, if you wanted to borrow $1,000 from somebody, they only had to have $100 on hand, and they could lend. Where'd the $900 come from? Out of thin air. Now they don't. Ron Paul a long time ago revealed there's no reserves. So every penny, so every time you get a mortgage, every time you get a car payment, and if you make one payment, they're coming out ahead. So when they repossess your car and repossess your house, I wouldn't blame gun owners for shooting him if they tried to do that, because it's theft. And the people don't understand. Every counterfeiter sitting in prison should be released, because they're not doing anything different than any mortgage company and every bank does every day of the year. When they give you, unless you're a savings loan, but if a regular part of the Federal Reserve System, people need to understand. And if you tell them, they don't believe you. I think it can't possibly be true. Look it up. I published a statement in my book Hidden History from an official with the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston that answered a question like that. yes, it is true we don't actually have the money on hand. So it's counterfeit. If you don't have money to lend, how are you lending it? And then, as Donnie talked about usury, which used to be a mortal sin, I think, in the Catholic Church for a long time, you're charging interest on top of it. So they can't pull. So when they talk about the national debt, this is nonsense. It can be repudiated because it doesn't exist. They couldn't call the debt in. The 90% of the principal, at least, is imaginary. Didn't exist anywhere. It's not backed by gold or anything. 100% of the interest is imaginary, obviously. So when they talk about, we need to pay our debt, no, you need to repudiate the debt. It's not the people's debt. Anyhow, and it's fake, like everything else about it. So when we talk about the money system, I just try to keep it simple like that, because most people, they still give you a blank look. But when I tell them, if you you still have conservatives talk about deadbeats don't pay. What do you mean deadbeats? The debt isn't real. They didn't lend you anything of theirs. So how are you going to pay it back? And that's what people need to realize. But it's such a great crime that I just think people can't realize it. They think, oh, you're going crazy. And I see Jawlly West came back. I'd like to give him a chance to talk because his connection keeps going off. He hasn't had a chance there.
Welcome back.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I had a bad connection. But I did want to just say, a couple things. We were talking about like Doge and Maha and all of these things earlier. And to me, I think a lot of this is Trojan horse, kind of strategy to bring in like AI governance. And I think that like a lot of the notion of cleaning house and, getting rid of waste, like cutting the fat of like superfluous, bureaucrats and workers and things like that is to, replace them, with AI. I think that the same thing, like with a lot of, like RFK, y'all were talking about him earlier. Sorry, I've been in and out of the conversation with my connection, but he's a big proponent of AI precision medicine and like wearables and all of these things. So I think that really, what it boils down to is that, we're looking at these policies that are, all coordinated to like bring in, AI surveillance, AI governance. I think that, a lot of the, like the immigration policy, the tariffs, that this is all kind of coordinated to like, make a shortage of, workers who, work in agriculture, people that, work in the fields that do harvest, once there's a shortage of, cheap available labor, the, solution is going to be like automated machinery, robots, things like that. For me, I think that that's really what this, administration is, coordinating to do is, bring in, like total AI
supremacy
management, and that's just kind of like the big kind of like enchilada. I think that I see is that all of these pieces are coming in together, and that they're using a lot of policy to make that like basically a necessity. Once you get rid of everybody who has a function, the only answer is to bring in AI and robotics. So just kind of throwing that out there, that's kind of my big take on everything that's been happening in the last year. So
I think one of the most insidious parts for me with AI isn't just like what you said in terms of like AI supremacy just invading every industry. I think it's also the fact that we're at our limit with, going back to energy consumption, because everything is like pay as a service, right? You don't just pay once and then you get infinite access to it. Like you have to purchase tokens, which pretty much ultimately abstract as energy. So it's like, basically it's at one point I could use Google as many times as I want, which is great. It's unlimited access to the service. But for AI, it's like, I could only get so many prompts in before it says like, hold up, you have to buy more tokens or you have to upgrade your subscription. And that's what I don't like, because you see that, and not just in AI, but even like Adobe Acrobat or in a lot of like simple software that you at one time you just bought once and now you have to pay like a monthly subscription fee. So that on top of the policy changes kind of makes me feel like it makes sense that these mega corporations would lobby for a good platform to build this kind of framework on, right?
When the service is free, you're the product. That's what Google did with all the data. Google took all that data. They wanted to know what we wanted to know, and they wrote it all down.
And Google, you know, all of the energy that's being, you know, generated, like it's going to be increasingly allocated to these data centers, and it's, you know, driving up, you know, retail customers for energy. Like, you know, every year, you know, here my bill is going up 10%, you know, just as like a baseline, and that's because of, you know, the data center consumption. So that's
inflation.
It's inflation, and it's also like reallocation of, you know, the resource. So
nothing fundamentally changed in how much it costs to make a kilowatt hour in the last 5 years, but the government printed more money now than they ever printed all the days before 2020. So when I say if you felt any wobble in prices, it's 100% because those people are fucking with the currency supply.
And I think that's by design. I think that's
absolutely.
By design to ultimately, you know, collapse. You know, the system that we have and bring in like a, you know, blockchain tokenized, you know, currency economy on some kind of like stable coin, you know, whatever.
You guys mentioned definitely.
Well, you guys mentioned Google terrorist did, and I, you know, as a writer, I've had 10 books published, and you know, when I wrote my first nonfiction book, Hidden History, it was so easy to research, and I could use Google itself. But now and I use the Russian search engine, Yandex, and I have like 6 or 7 of the people have sent me. They all use Google's algorithm to one degree or another. It is incredible censorship. You used to be. I'm talking about just an example. A couple of years ago, when I was just trying to find the because I like to source everything, the exact date of the Washington Post where they published a retraction to Donald Trump for I think what they claimed he said during the phone conversation to Ukraine or something like that. But they published a retraction way back in the, you know, not on the front page. You couldn't find it. They blocked. They would not send you to that issue of the Washington Post. Now that would have been automatic when I first started writing. So I have, you know, a couple of researchers that helped me out a lot now. Even with that, it's very difficult to find things. I mean, I'm writing a book about sports now, and they censor everything. I can't find what I want to there. I mean, I know things that I saw, there's no reference to them anywhere in the record. The search engine's absolutely blank, and Google is worthless. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the things where you what is it? Is it happy white woman or something like that? You type in, and so many white people. I mean, it's ridiculous. I think when you say white doctors now, they show all non-white doctors with white coats or something. I mean, just ridiculous stuff that you know, who's setting up that algorithm? And so, unfortunately, it's a great tool, but they've made it very difficult again, just for writers, because, you know,
and then throw in there how much of what you're experiencing is your silo that you're in, because how the algorithms know how to mess with you, and it just takes one programming to limit you, as you're well aware. Yeah,
they know they know I'm coming at something from where they don't want me asking what I'm asking, or they can see, okay, he's got an angle here, you know, that we don't want.
And I have the impression someone.
You know how I cured the silo problem? I got a job at Tesla and I dumped my book in Elon's office.
Oh no.
Okay.
You come back. Where'd you go?
Yes, I did. I am absolutely certain Elon Musk knows how to automate a legislature. I personally made sure.
Wow.
Information is free, right?
Guerrilla employment.
Me and Jordan just talked about.
No, you're right. Ford. That silo problem's a real bitch. What does it take to get around it?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Donnie.
Good job
for your service. Yeah, thank you for your service.
No, it just kind of hit me right now. Like, how far will I go? I don't ask myself this stuff. I just go and do it. But when I look back, sometimes I'm like, Jesus Christ, Donnie, what the fuck is wrong with you?
That's a classic.
Wait, I just want to add real quick about how difficult it is to source.
About that silo.
Yeah, on how difficult it is to source information. I think if you know your sources, if you have specific sources and feed that to the AI, it does a very good job of summarizing it for you. So I think in the future, like it's the skill to have is going to be first, know where to find your sources. But as far as like parsing through it, formatting it, making it digestible, all these language models are just going to do that instantly. They'll make a whole podcast out of a PDF book for you. It's like, you don't have to read Donnie's book. I'll just generate these two kind AI folk to explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Well, they will. But if you're politically incorrect enough, like everything I write is politically incorrect, they won't go there. Like I will have I know where it can. I just need the exact date. I'm looking for the exact issue of the Detroit Free Press or whatever, and I'll put the subject, because sometimes I'll have a quote from the article, and it used to automatically give you that. It won't do that now. It makes it very, very difficult. Again, it depends on what you're trying to do. For instance, like part of what I'm writing about sports is racial dynamics in sports, which has never been talked about. So I'm talking about there's a lot of anti-white discrimination in sports. They will not go there. So everything that you put about it, they'll do the exact opposite. Like I'll say, black players who have made anti-white comments, black athletes, and it'll just do the exact opposite. And it will not give you what you want. You have to dig so deep. I may have to get out all my old Sports Illustrators, I guess, and try to find something there. But that's
the articles.
Yeah, exactly. And we shouldn't have to start going back to microfiche and all that stuff. But it's the search engines are completely controlled. They know exactly what they're doing. And I'm not even talking about AI coming in and advising me I'm wrong or something like that. But they won't go there. You're asking for a specific issue. Hey, this thing happened when? And I think sporting events I saw on television that I know happened. There's no record of them. There was a guy. You try to search for. There used to be a player on the Washington Redskins. They were named Irving Fryer, who came out and said that he participated in a fixed national championship game between Miami and he said, I personally dropped several passes. I was paid off. Now, at the time, nobody questioned, hey, who paid you off? Not a single sports writer was interested. Well, wait a minute, who paid you off? He faded away, and there is no record of it anywhere. Go use any search engine. Irving Fryer talks about it being fixed. Not there. So how do you even search something like that? But obviously, I saw it in real time. It got my interest because I've been saying these kinds of things for years. That's what's very frustrating when you see this. It makes it a lot harder to write nonfiction. It used to be really easy with the internet because the search engines did a lot of the work for you. You didn't have to go to the library and go through all that stuff. But it's it is what it is. But like I said, that the Russian search engine, people say, oh yeah, it's rigged too. It knows it's not quite as bad as Google.
All of the intellectual property laws are designed to do this. They are designed to limit the actual vocabulary words you have access to, and someone will be able to remove certain things according to IP laws.
Well, you remember when you used to Google something, you could one page after the other almost forever, and now it will cut you off and say that's it. It's like, really, there's no more internet going on here. I don't know if that plays into the dead internet theory, but it's weird.
No, they're limiting what you get.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting what you were mentioning, Don, about the rigging in sports, which has obviously been going on for so long. But I think that, like the kind of like acceleration is in conjunction with this, sports gambling, which has become like legitimized and just universal now. And it's become like such an obsession.
Sorry, I have some thoughts about this after you're done, by the way. Sorry.
I think it's a great topic because I've seen just like this explosion in the proliferation of this in the last year, and the laws have changed in so many states to allow this, and it seems like this is a big thing that people are being funneled into, and that it goes hand in hand with the actual fixing of the games.
Well, I mean, the legislation is a big part of it, right? The more you legalize and open the floodgates for corporate gambling platforms to arise and actually operate. And another thing is prediction markets. That is kind of like replacing traditional markets. Like, my friend made a joke. He was like, instead of actually ordering kiwis from a delivery service, I'm just going to say, I bet $15 that kiwi will not show up in front of my house, and someone will see it and then bet the opposite, and then kiwi shows up in front of his house, and then he gets $15. That's just going to replace everything. Everything's just going to be a prediction market because everything could be bettable now thanks to I don't know, Kalshi. It's I bet sorry. That's it.
It's like it's the gamification of our society, right? That's gamification, tokenization, everything is, being like put onto these, systems to be able to influence like how we, live our lives.
Yeah, and it all revolves around that because you bet on everything. There's a lot of political betting now too. There's companies that specialize in that, and it's really had a terrible impact on the culture. But it goes to the reason why it's so popular. The same reason for the lottery is because I wrote a book called Survival of the Richest that analyzed all this stuff. But it's a rigged economy. 80% of the people lose, just like in a casino, to one degree or another, so the 20% can win. And so that's the problem is they're looking for a way. How can I make money? Because I'm not being paid enough at my job. So yeah, I'll bet on the coin toss at the Super Bowl. And it completely idiocracy stuff. The coin toss.
Doesn't all that contribute to all the trends that are pushing us online, that are making everything more and more digital, to culling those who won't play ball digitally? Who, if there's a collapse that justifies programmable currency and life on your phone, and then life with chips and life with wearables, it's going to cull those who refuse and who want to live in real life, and then restrict and limit how access to what kind of seeds you have and can you grow your own food. Is that all funneling us into those smart cities? Is that all funneling us into the worst case technocratic digital enslavement scenarios?
I think so, and that's they make it so easy for young people, especially, to bet on DraftKings and all these things. And if you watch any sports, 90% of their advertising now is for these services, and all they have to do is it's an app. You go on your phone and boom, you can, and they'll give you great things like hey, we give $500 if you bet today, and they know they're going to win.
And it's also an addictive process. It's an addictive behavior as well.
Listen, I think it's one of those things that we see, but we're not necessarily understanding. 5% of the gamblers do 90% of the gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So we're seeing ads because, frankly, a bunch of us don't give a shit. We are being propagandized to care about things that we don't. And the more you see it, the more that all of the degeneracy isn't good for an individual. I'm not a moralist. I'm a heretic. But when I say the Christians have a pretty good rubric for not creating lunatics, there's some fucked up shit that goes on in the church. There's some fucked up shit that goes on with Mormons. But Christianity as a whole has a fairly decent product. The problem is those people are entirely too susceptible to politics. So they're very nice people that you can kind of trust them around your kids usually, but they get very politicized. And all of these, I just break it down to professionals and amateurs. There are professional people who are trying to get everybody to make them millionaires through degeneracy. And if you don't understand it's a trick, you're a millionaire.
That's such a huge topic, the seduction into degeneracy, because it's seductive to the powerless. And one of my major premises is the school experience is a crime against humanity, destroying the humanity's best impulses of curiosity and playfulness from childhood to having lots of experience. So by the time you could have kids, we used to be able to have kids and raise kids and be happy as young adults, having grandkids and et cetera, et cetera. And the seduction into degeneracy, Donnie, is a great topic and concept I'm going to be thinking about for a long time.
It's even beyond degeneracy. Again, it's just an economic reality that most people are struggling financially. 70-some% of people live paycheck to paycheck. About the same percentage don't have $500 in savings. That's a shocking indictment of an alleged first world country. So you're going to have these things. You can't get any more money out of your work most of the time. Maybe you can work a little bit more overtime, but that's all you can do. So you play the lottery. You win. And if you're a sports fan, hey, I got this app on my phone. I'm going to keep betting on sports. I know I'm going to win this time, like every gambler says. It can become a disease if you get addicted to it, like drugs or anything. But this is just an updated version of Amway and Herbalife. These pyramid schemes. I went to so many people roped me into so many Amway meetings back in the day. And I never met anybody other than the people that lectured you about how great they were doing. Nobody were damn way. But with the on paper, oh yeah, it looks okay. I get 5 people, and they get 5 people, and so forth. I can make a lot of money like this guy, who still needs to recruit people all the time. So it's just an update of that, because we're not being paid enough for the average job. And again, I go back to when I was a kid. Every job paid a living wage enough where that somebody working at a gas station could own a house and have a bunch of kids, and his wife didn't have to work, and that's what's changed. And nobody talks. Very few people talk about that. The Democrats certainly don't. But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a.
Well, I mean, sorry, what were you saying?
Well, I was just going to say that, I think it's, it's not just about like the gambling and stuff, but also, again, like people living inside of these like digital worlds, these games, there is like money in these games. There's tokens, there's, things that people earn, and that's actually like connected with actual money. And now it's like the more time that you spend in these like virtual game worlds, like the more potential you have to actually earn. And especially for like younger people, like they're completely captured. They spend like 12, 15 hours a day inside of these game worlds, and that's like that's real, and that these like tokens, these currencies that they're earning or whatever in the games is like that's tantamount to like income in a way. And it is the same thing as the gambling. It's these like pathways to keep people like locked into these like false economies.
Yeah, I mean, with gaming specifically, there is that whole meta economy on top of it for streaming now, because like people would actually spend money, give their coins away to someone else while they play video games. And I think one of the appeals of that is, especially like as legacy media loses a lot of its significance and trust, you have like younger people, especially, who just prefer to watch their favorite personalities play a video game and then talk about the news instead of just watching the news themselves. And they'd rather like actually give their money to that instead of spending like X amount of money on news subscriptions and APIs every month. So I think that's another aspect where it's not just like, game money anymore, like funny money. Now there's actual money with, if you're able to facilitate that kind of streaming platform where I'm not just playing video games all day, I'm also talking to my community and I'm keeping them informed on what Trump is doing, on what the gambling platforms are doing, and just like how we're doing now.
And who are those streamers, and how do they get like algorithmically, selected and favored to be, like a large, platformed individual? I mean, who's making those choices? Like they're astroturfed, and it has to be, that's how these things work. So it's like, that's the new Mockingbird. These people are like, where do they come from? Who are they? I mean, they're being, given outsized influence because they're chosen to do so. To be that like gatekeeper of narratives for young people that have like low level of discernment and are captured. So
I got a quick question.
Destiny and Mr. Beast.
Don Jeffries,
Exactly.
if you're thinking of leaving soon, before you do, would you share with us the things you tell people to find hope, or things that they could do that might be effective to try to turn this good old country of ours into something that it was intended to be a couple hundred years ago?
Well, I'm more hopeful than most people. I'm cynical too, but I watched a lot of Frank Capra movies, and it's just not the Christmas season, so I watched Meet John Doe and It's a Wonderful Life again. Always brings out the inner populist in me. So I think that we have the numbers. We have hundreds of millions and more than them, billions more around the world. We outnumber them way more than Orwell's proles did in 1984. But we have to come together. So I think that's ultimately trying to build bridges with people. And I think that if it's RFK's speech about tiny ripples of hope, I quote that very often. I think, if you little tiny victories, if you can make little tiny, everybody that you can wake up, because we have to pretty much wake up one person at a time. And that's about the best we can do with the platforms we have. And, but One thing I tell people is I don't think there's, I don't really think they're reptilian or whatever the people. I don't think they're supernatural creatures that are running us. Maybe they are, and we have no hope. But I think that they're not that smart. I don't think they're smarter than the average person. It's they have power. Power. You don't need to be that smart. If you have power, that's that's a great equalizer in terms of IQ or whatever. So, and I think they're pretty crappy conspirators. I think they're crappy conspirators on purpose. Like I talk about calling cards, they leave these things all the time, from the magic bolt that didn't hit anything to the magical passport on top of the rubble of the WTC. They leave these things because I think they want people to know. They like toying with us.
Like the ace of spades, I think, tucked into Dag Hammarskjöld's collar at the plane crash.
There you go. Yeah, it's like Jack the Ripper taunting Scotland Yard. These are psychopaths, and they like bragging about it, but they're not brilliant. They got power along the way, and most people are really naive. They're really gullible. They want to trust. That's why we can't wake people up. When I talked about the Federal Reserve and everything, it's because they can't believe that evil like that exists. Oh, come on, that's ridiculous. My bank, the bank that repossessed my neighbor's car because he was a deadbeat and didn't pay it back, or that foreclosed on them because they fell behind a couple months of their mortgage. They can't believe the bank's the bad guy there. They can't believe these realized snidely whiplashes. And so it's hard to convince them. And that's what happens when, people, I do think everything's a conspiracy because we're run by conspirators. This is what they do. So I'm not limited at all. This is a way of life for them. So I think you just try to be honest with people and don't be afraid of labels, and don't be scared of being called anti-Semitic or racist or anything. I don't laugh at that. And most people are laughing at that. That doesn't mean it shouldn't have the power it once had, but I don't know if there's hope there or not, but I'm still trying. I'm not going to give up. And I sometimes how stupid people are and the dumb sheeple and everything. I lose my cool at them, but then I realize they're the hope. That's our hope. We have to try to, and they're being screwed. No matter how dumb they are, they're being screwed over. And it's sad to see, and you want to try to help them. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but I do have to.
Well, it leads to the next one. What's the best website for people to follow you and your work?
Perfect. Well, Substack is the only place I'm not being shadow banned. It's the only place I'm being allowed to grow very slowly, organically. DonaldJeffries.substack.com. I Protest is like my weekly podcast. I Protest, which is every Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. I have 10 books out there. You can follow me on Twitter at Don Jeffrey Links. And the shadow ban is eased there since Elon Musk took over, but it's still there. And you can look for any of my. You do a search for me, you probably find out more than you want to know. I have 10 books out there, so I appreciate participating in this. I probably talked too much, so now I'm gone, and you guys can talk more. So.
Thanks for being here, Don. Have yourself a happy New Year, and we'll talk next year. Okay, my friend.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Same to everybody. Take care. Nice seeing you.
Interesting. What a good answer, and I like that question. Which was like what would a person want to say if they're trying to encourage, I guess, a sense of collective unity? And I like the ideas that people have when they focus on other people. But for me, I'm like, I just view everyone as like the same soul living out different lives in different bodies. We're all just different versions of each other. That way, I don't have to convince you to adopt my perspective. If anyone who's going through hard times sees me, who's been through some dumb shit myself, like. If they say like, how did you turn your shit around? And I'll be like, oh, glad you asked, here's my perspective. Would you like to know more? There's really no need to evangelize anyone. They will be known by their fruits. Right.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, speaking of fruits, and Bruce mentioned seeds before, I think that actually that's one of the solutions is to be like accumulating as much heirloom seed stock as possible. This is something that is increasingly like not available, and that we're going to need moving forward into the future is like non-engineered seed stock, and that everybody can plant a garden in their backyard if they have like the wherewithal and have like real actual heirloom seeds that have existed for millennia, rather than
tomatoes,
bioengineered stuff. I mean, that's to me, that's the hope. Like it's inside of those seeds. So I think that's a really salient point that Bruce brought up earlier too. So
you wonder if that's why movies are so bad, is so that the news and the politicians are the most interesting thing you can possibly watch. That's where all the drama is. And we also have the bread and circus, but now they're profiting off of it, and it gets more and more expensive. And they kind of play on your mental health a lot. Like, I know it might be simple, but you sign up for Hulu, you spend the money on Hulu, and then they'll show you the same 2 ads like 70 times during a 30-minute program. So of course you're going to pay, because now you're depressed. You can't watch your favorite show, and that's your ritual to come home and watch this on Hulu. And so you've got to pay for your happiness. It's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood's definitely shit in the bed lately over the past, I don't know how many years. They've been pissing off more than half of the audiences for like the last 5 years. They're just kicking the can down the road. They've been too woke for too long.
If economics is correct, where do these people keep getting the money to fail?
Right, I know, man. It's nothing but sequels and requels and remakes and live action remakes or animated remakes, or
with the same theme. Apparently, I haven't sucked that dick yet.
Right,
and I need to be preached at just a little bit more, just because
harder.
One more rainbow flag, and I'll be on my way. The left is just trying to wear me down.
Yeah, like the LGBTQ stuff. The dwarves. You can't have dwarves. Snow White. You can't have dwarves anymore. Turning all these historically white characters black or gay or trans or whatever. It's I think people are just having enough with it. Just make some new characters. You don't have to write the story around everyone being gay and diverse.
I mean, but the funny part is, storytelling is actually a very simple thing when you consider the basic framework of what makes a story a story. Like, consider the monomyth. Like, every hero's journey ultimately does follow some semblance of a pattern. And if you could tap into that pattern, you could just swap in whatever themes, whatever characters you want, as long as it goes through that death and rebirth cycle. I mean, you could even exploit it, subvert it, make a TV show by making it never resolve that full circle, which is some shows actually do that. Yeah. But I always consider storytelling such a fascinating thing. Like, it doesn't cheapen it for me knowing about things like the monomyth. If anything, it makes stories more beautiful. I could see like, oh, this is how they chose to do it in their way. This is their version of their story circle or act sequence.
Well, I think one of the other things that we're inundated with in Hollywood and movies, television series now is like the comic book, like superhero milieu. I mean, it's like ubiquitous. All of the biggest movies are about that, and these are people who are like have these superpowers imbued by like extraterrestrial sources, or like some kind of like genetic tinkering, largely by like military programs in some of these cases and stuff like this. And I think that's kind of like planting seeds of like eugenics. Like people have the expectation of like, oh, Superman is the Ubermensch, like Wolverine is some military modification program. Like that's it's all kind of like a eugenic sort of narrative. So just kind of like something that I think about.
And that's grooming, and that's the agenda of the psychopaths, who are a lot of the motivation that seems to be inside a lot of the psyops and things being inflicted on the world. Maybe it'd be great to go around the horn here and ask everybody, like, what do you do to stay sane, or what do you recommend that others do in order to contribute toward life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Yeah,
I'll go first.
Go first, Chris. Go for it, my friend.
I would say it's very important to stay grateful, because gratitude is itself an act. It's not just a state that you find yourself in. It's something you could choose to be. 2, I would say it's very important to be harmonized in mind, body, and soul. And like that could be a little tricky, especially if you don't believe in a soul and you're strictly grounded to materialist frameworks of reality. But for me, I just do it through martial arts. You know, I think martial arts is a way for me to be in a state where my mind, body, and soul are not fucking with each other. And I think you don't have to be the strongest, you don't have to be the smartest, you don't have to be the bravest. Just make it so those three elements are on the same team. And just that alone creates an engine to like ascension of sorts. You know, you got out of your own way. Then everything else is just kind of falls into place from there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love it. How about you, Jay?
I kind of view it. There's this concept, the Chapel Perilous. I think it started with like an Arthurian legend, but this guy named Anton Wilson, who he's questionable, but he said it was like once you enter the Chapel Perilous, which is this scary place you have to go to, you never come out again. But while you're there, you can either become completely agnostic to everything, or you can start thinking that you're the one that's getting the messages and you're the one that's supposed to relay them. So it's better to just kind of remain agnostic. Don't believe too strongly into anything. The things you can prove are real, like the love of your friends and family. Don't get stuck in that. I got to find the next clue. I've got to be the one to tell people. It's like no one knows. Just accept that things you'll never understand and kind of move on from there.
Nice. Donnie, how about you?
I haven't. I have not become well adjusted to the insane world.
Fair enough, man.
Up until like this year. And now I'm kind of in a different place. I spent the last couple of years and I did the legwork myself. I'm certain that that's a shit show. I mean, I dumped a book off in Elon's office. I have been all around the Libertarian Party. I know which subjects will not be tabled because we're not going to talk about those fucking people down the road being unemployed. We will be inflicted with the propaganda campaign. So because that's what I have done, literally done that for the last 5 years, I was not well adjusted to the insane world. I was just tearing into it, throwing books, throwing profanities. Now I'm certain it's so fake that my continued participation with it only makes me the problem. So I am out. And I've been fucked with all the way out about this. I have had shit in my life disappear. I am king of the shadow bans. If I get to 50 people, I've had 2 Twitter accounts removed because I was over 1,000 people. So when I say you're not permitted to discuss automating your representative out of existence, you're not even, no one will repeat that. No, the libertarians went religious after I got done with them. They all just preaching. They're preaching fucking orthodoxy, and they're all finding God now. The economics is going out the window because AI showed up. So now all of a sudden, everything that revolves around the Libertarian Party is now looking for Jesus because their previous faith has been shaken with mathematics. So they're all finding out that fiat is no plan at all. If you think you understand economics, take the fiat out and ask yourself all those questions again. Just stick blockchain, just stick Bitcoin in there. It's not a bad model because it plugs all those fucked up economicals. Sorry. So anyway, how do I maintain sanity? I don't. I was on the attack until July. I was going after a magistrate for signing shitty warrants and did a month and a half in jail. So that is the only thing that even slowed me down. So.
Well, at least you were a rebel with a cause. In my younger years, I was just being a dick for the hell of it, and it got me in a lot of trouble. I was in juvie, ended up in foster care, ended up in all kinds of dumb shit. So I could say from the other side, speaking as a layman, as a nobody, it's not that bad over here. All right, like if you do end up on this side of the street, I'll just say this: it's not all terrible. Okay, like regular life as a civilian isn't that bad.
Yeah, I've figured that out, but it's somebody's job.
That's true.
And when I start looking around, I come up on the short list of someone has to do something about it, and I might be one of the military shits who has to actually go and do it. Like, there's the theory, and then there's the, hey, did you do that, or did I do that, or oh, nobody did that. Oh shit! Look, we get another piece of legislation where nobody bothered to read. Oh, so.
I mean, I think it's powerful when you do something that no one told you to do. When it's just one of those things that like you just felt it and you did it, regardless of who was supportive or who wasn't. I think that's kind of significant for every individual, you know.
Everybody should take that level of empowerment. Never mind, you could do it. If anybody tells you to stop, keep going anyway. Fuck that.
Habsburg, you're up.
Man, I mean, for me, I think like the empowerment was like the last term that was just thrown in there, and I think empowering yourself, like teaming with nature. Like I do a lot of foraging. I forage mushrooms. I fish. I know like the plants in my region. I know I'm gonna be trying to learn how to hunt to be able to harvest my own meat, things like that. I think that that's the ultimate empowerment, and that this is how humans have been able to survive. I mean, forget like even what I was talking about before about like accumulating heirloom seeds and planting garden. I mean, we have infinite access. All you have to do is like know what you're looking at. I mean, if you can go out and identify edible mushrooms, if you can like pick up a fishing rod, I mean, you can feed yourself, you can feed your family. I mean, it's not that crazy. And ultimately, like, yeah, if you can learn to garden. I mean, it's like for anybody that's done it. I mean, when you grow up a plant, or you grow mushrooms, or whatever it is, and you bring that from your garden to your table. I mean, is that not like the most empowering thing? I mean, these are just like the things, because beyond that, like I got nothing, like Donnie was saying. I mean, we're boned. I mean, there's not much we can do except like to figure out how to take care of ourselves, and we absolutely can. And when you do it, like you really feel empowered. Like when you don't have to go to a store, when you don't have to like take whatever's being offered to you, like you can get it yourself or grow it yourself. That's it. That's like that's what gives me hope and gives me sustenance. So I'm learning all the time, but I've gotten pretty good at like being able to gather my own food and grow my own food. And that's need to get a little more practical with like animal husbandry and things like that. But just there's one step at a time. So
honestly, I truly believe that when you master one thing in life, everything else becomes easier to master. Like take gardening, for example. You could apply that to marketing so easily, because good marketing, really, you're just constructing a system like a garden or a funnel, really. You spread many seeds, that's the top level of the funnel. You get some sprouts, that's the lower level. Then you get some plants, that's even lower level. At the very bottom of the funnel, you want the fruit, you want the nut, right? So I could come up with all sorts of martial arts metaphors, I'm sure. So I think it's worth it. Even if it's one thing and you stick with it to its very conclusion of mastery, put in the 10,000 hours. Once you reach that, it's very easy to apply those masterful principles to anything else in life. And I think it's worth it. I think every path in itself becomes worthwhile that way.
Yep. 100%.
Bruce, how about yourself? How would you answer that? Your own question.
Probably by talking about, life as a human might be fear management or overcoming fear. And I think all humans are engaged in that, and high functioning ones do that really, really well. So it's to check in and know, and especially in the light of the world today and the threats to freedom and the threats to health, and it's to know what you want, which is to go back to my model of self-parenting, and then knowing what we apparently know about how the world really works. And like Don Jeffries mentioned, there's so many more of us. If we could overcome the fear and powerlessness, we have to hope and believe that we could work our will on those who are trying to screw us. So how do we get more people to look at the horrible, scary stuff that we're talking about that we know, and how do we deal with it. It's to encourage folks who, let's say, Jordan, are fans of your work and your show, who are, and maybe have never had the courage to start a conversation about these kind of things. That's where I find a lot of effectiveness in encouraging folks, because this is part of my journey. Once you have the courage to start conversations about quote unquote controversial things, like Don Jeffries said, don't be afraid of being called an anti-Semite or a conspiracy theorist. You will get mocked like that, but you will also find many others, like everyone on this Zoom and presumably everybody watching, who are interested in these kind of things. And then you'll realize you're not alone. And that's how to model, like Terrorisk was saying, be, 99% of the effort ought to be on, like, how am I doing? Am I happy in this moment? How am I relating to reality? Whether you need a spiritual idea for that, which works for me and many others, or whatever you need to function well, that's going to be attractive. But that's the tangible thing, is to have the courage to talk about these scary things. Bring it up where you never have before. Hey, do you know anyone who thinks that 9/11 was an inside job? Hey, do you know anyone who thinks that the COVID vaccines were bioweapons? Hey, do you know anyone who thinks that Donald Trump's facilitating the erection of a technocratic enslavement? Pass the gravy, and just see what happens. And then find the books and find the podcasts and things like that to get more and more certain, because then when we're certain, things get easier. But it's to know that happiness is the goal, and that's a function of loving ourselves like a comforting mother and encouraging ourselves like an awesome dad who believes in you, so we can, believe in each other. And Terrorisk, I'll end with this. How you describe, maybe we are all expressions of the one thing that exists. Call it a soul, call it God, call it a call it infinite and eternal consciousness. Yes, I call it all of those things.
Yeah, me too.
And it goes back to something at the top of the conversation. We talked about, if you have an idea that you're safe even after you die, or it doesn't matter what happens after you've died, you've lived a noble life of integrity and consciously seeking or trying to generate happiness for yourself and others, contributing to the happiness and the enjoyment of life of others. That's a life well lived. And the spiritual idea really, really helps. And for empowerment along those lines, I submit the countless near-death experiences, those thousands and thousands of stories, actually studied by, departments at universities and, for decades now. They really let one justify a belief that I'm surrounded by loved ones, my family, my ancestors, angels and guides. And so is everybody here. So, and back to Terrorisk, do the work, the discipline, do the work, live a whole day trying to remember that you're part of a team or a family that surrounds you of souls that have all the answers that you possibly want, and ask them for the guidance. Help me participate in this conversation. Then as you look at everyone you meet here and also at work or at the store or online at the grocery store, imagine like all your angels love all of their angels. And if anyone's a dick or terrified or cruel, like Jesus bleeding on the cross, forgive them. They know not what they do. They don't know who and what they really are. An eternal soul having this experience for the goal of, like I said at the top, overcoming fear to love all of reality and all humans as yourself.
I also want to apologize. I don't want to disparage anyone who may have like some serious grudges against another, maybe against family members, because I've been there. So I know it's easier said than done to just accept everyone as something like yourself. But I get it. It's fucking hard, especially because there's bad people out there. And to look at someone like Hitler and say, you're telling me I share a soul with that guy? And it's like, unfortunately, yes. A bit of that is in you too. So like, it's hard. I understand that. And I just want to like add that I get that it's hard. I don't want to cheapen the difficulty.
I'm an ape, and so are you.
Yep.
So we can go to the spiritual side of it, but at the end of the day, this is a logistical undertaking. We will bathe our asses and we will do the work, or we will stare at each other and make excuses.
The ape in me honors the ape in you.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
The eternal blessed ape.
Yeah. And it's funny because I talked to my dad about these things, and he's like, the world would be better if they thought more like you, but I can never think like you. And I was like, it's okay, Dad, because I know what he's been through. Like, I don't need him to be like me,
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Bruce, are you going to depart us now, my friend?
After I ask you what words of advice or encouragement you give your fellow humans, or would give your fellow humans.
Well, you guys all had really good answers. Mine, keep it a little more simple. I'd say one thing is something I've learned again recently. Meeting Bruce, I've known you for a while. Chris, I've known you for a little while. But the rest of you guys I've met quite recently. And I think it's important to find people, especially for someone like me who I live in a smaller city. The pool of the talent pool, so to speak, of people that think like me or converse like me or interested in learning about these kind of things that I talk about on the show is a little smaller. So I think it's important to look around, find these communities, or find people that you can converse with and make relationships with, even if it's over the phone or the iPad or the computer over the screens. So I think that's important, and I think they can help you. They can help you more than sometimes more than a friend or a family member who's right in front of you. That kind of common understanding is important. And I guess another thing I'd say is find not only people, but find things to kind of exchange positive energies with. For example, like pets. Obviously, I have 3 turtles, and I love them so much. They bring me so much joy, and they help me relax because I'm able to exchange that energy. But even if it's not a pet, just find things in your life, whether they're physical or not. Things that have happened, maybe something that you own, maybe anything, something that you've done, and just think back and reflect and find the positivity in it. And going back to what Chris was talking about, be grateful, because that is very important. It is very important because you can a lot of positive energy can burst from gratefulness in all directions. So I'd say those are a few simpler things to keep calm and kind of keep happy in the new year.
Amen. With that, I must depart. Thanks for inviting me. It was great to meet everybody. It was great.
Much
Bruce,
love.
Thanks, Bruce.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for being here, and we'll stay in touch, and we'll see you next year, my friend.
Amen. How do I get out of here?
Ciao. Get out of here. All right. All right, guys. Where should we go from here? Well, what about we were talking about a little bit about media and stuff like that. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the explosion, I guess you can call it, of these alternative media people who kind of they try to put on the mask of I'm just a small-time journalist, and I'm out for the truth, and I'm on your side, and follow me. And meanwhile they're raking in tons of money. You don't know what their true values are. You don't know what's really important to them. Some of them have come from news, these legacy media companies. Some have other odd or sometimes nefarious backgrounds. but yeah, we have a lot of these people now, from Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes, and you have a lot of these other influencers and political pundits, or whatever you want to call them, the Hodge twins, Laura Loomer, Milo Yiannopoulos, the list just goes on. So
the blunt rotation of blunt rotations.
So I don't know who wants to start with this, but what do you think the future? I don't know if we're going to see any necessarily changes in 2026, because I think like maybe this trend is still, if it is a trend, it's kind of still settling. But are we going to start seeing alternative media and these influencers starting to get wrapped up and grouped in with legacy media, in the sense that they're, like I said, they're taking money, maybe their values are compromised, and maybe they straight up just don't want to tell you the truth, or cover things that they're being told not to cover.
I feel like a good analogy would be like comparing comparing like an Olympic pro wrestler to like a WWE superstar, where like these like YouTube guys are like WWE wrestlers, like, yeah, motherfucker. Whereas the people doing the real work, they're like the Olympic, wrestlers doing the real wrestling, quote unquote.
Okay.
How does John Q. Nobody show up on Tucker, show up on Candace, or not Rogan? There's a big circuit. It's a big casting couch. So if you've been given the green light, you will then be advanced through that whole group of people. They're clearly a group. They clearly have they clearly get the same guests. This isn't some decentralized thing. So when I say there's a propaganda thing, that's been going since our parents were born. Now there's a counter propaganda thing. They're all assholes.
The heel.
I don't want to look at any of them. You could tell that it's all practiced, it's all scripted. None of them are subject matter experts. I'm pretty sure most of them are chosen because of the spelling of their name, so that their name means something in the grander scheme of things. JD Vance is this close to Erica Kirk. JT Massey is her old husband. The T stands for Tyler. Tyler Robinson's the guy who shot her current husband. And Thomas Massey's wife just happens to be removed from the script in the last. Get the fuck out of here. Every one of these faggot animals, all of them. They're only put up there for propaganda purposes. I'm certain. I bumped into some of these people myself. I'm certain. They wouldn't know a real story if it hit them in the face. They're just doing script. So when you try to look at it through the lens of this is all just chaos being put together and it looks fucked up, you can follow that same guest list right through all of them. That's not chaos. That's a parade.
You kind of saw. I think you kind of saw a little bit into it when that Tenet Media stuff came out, and that involved a lot of those people. And you can tell they don't know where they're getting money from, as long as they're getting it. Something I've noticed on Rogan for the last couple of years is he'll have a guest, and they'll be talking, and then he'll be like, "Have you seen this new exercise mat? It's really cool, man." And be like, "No, I haven't." And it's like, "Check it out, Jamie." And it's like, that's an ad. That's a commercial.
Yeah.
Like, at least tell me you're advertising.
Rogan will have a show with a decent guest that isn't one of the Muppets. They are a primary source. And of course, the whole thing will be Joe calling back to the Muppets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Even when the Muppets aren't on, we got to talk about the Muppets. Let's talk about Candace Owens. Hey, what is Candace Owens a subject matter expert in? Just go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I just, like it's not just, like the guests, but I mean, it's these figures that are, selected, that are, I mean, how do you get a podcast, with, millions of followers? Like, I mean, you're algorithmically positioned to do that. Like, where did Joe Rogan come from? I mean, where did Candace Owens come from? I mean, these people are being like pushed in certain ways because like they're not acting of their own accord. Like they're being positioned, and like, what are the best like psyops? What are the, like the best campaigns for misinformation or whatever? You give X amount, 90%, good truth. And, you slip in 5-10% misdirection. And like that, those are the things that like become embedded. And these are characters. These are actors. That's how I see it. I think that like, it's all astroturfed, and, that like the new alternative media, like, I mean, it's, it's so much more effective because each person can like latch on to like the person that they believe, and like, oh, this is the, this is
Exactly.
my guy,
Yeah.
this is, this is my guy, and they can like draw you in, and you're gonna like get, you're gonna wait every time they release a new episode, or you're gonna be on their stream every day, and you're feeling like you're personally attached to these people, right? Like that's part of this strategy, versus like, everybody's watching a news broadcast in like the legacy media, which, I mean, that's done. There's like a handful of boomers that still, watch that kind of stuff. And even they are like being drawn into this, alt media, sphere. But like everybody has somebody that like, hey, that's the guy I identify with. That's the guy I believe, and like
They're all
that's
characters.
the power of it.
It's
They're all
fantasy
characters,
football for
absolutely.
government school kids.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's like, you kind of like have to chart and see like where these people like come from, their families, who their parents are, and like, that these people have been like, kind of in these, like system, Joe Rogan, his stepfather was like a tech guy. Alex Jones, his father is this like shady CIA dentist guy. Candace Owens, her father was like running the school, property management, like, for Sandy Hook, Jordan, you had Dana on recently, right? Did she talk about that with Candace Owens, the research that she, came up with about
No,
her
we didn't
father?
get. We got it.
It's
We just
unbelievable.
scratched the surface. That's something we're gonna get into when I bring Dana back.
I mean, she's one of the real ones, by the way. Like, for
Yeah,
what it's
she's
worth,
great.
like,
She was
man,
great. That was
she's
a great show.
unbelievable. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like Candace Owens, her father was like, managing the, like services for Sandy Hook when, like the thing happened. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like, who are these people?
You remember the game
They all have.
You know the game 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is quite literally 2 degrees of Jeffrey Epstein. This whole production for the last 10 years is 2 degrees of anybody who was within 10 feet of Jeffrey Epstein for the whole time.
Everything.
And they're kind of blaming him for some of the shorts for 2008. So when I say it's a very small criminal racket, but they're hiding in front of the cameras.
And there's a managed disclosure about all that. Like, why has Jeffrey Epstein, been, for years and years, like, this topic that people are allowed to talk about, and, things go viral, and, these, managed releases of information. Like, this is, I mean, yeah, like this network is there, but like there's definitely like this discourse is being encouraged like continuously. Like there is, this like revelation of the method that is being like, constantly, put out there. If it was something that like we weren't supposed to talk about, like, it would all be like canned. It really, it would be like,
it's the great distraction. It's the dollar is dying, and they will fucking say anything. They'll put on any TV show. If we would just shut up and watch reruns, they'd be happy if we would do that. So all of the money on the planet is a 24/7 endeavor. And that whole thing is going on off camera, and they're keeping it there. And they're making sure that, and when you come back to it, who is it? It's all of these people at the top, and they want to keep printing. You know, all of the worst people in the world are hiding behind their attorneys. Jeff is just the one we got to see. Diddy is another one we got to see. There's not 2 of those dudes. There's 1,000. Maybe there's
At
not
least.
1,000. There's definitely 100.
Well, there's a hierarchy. There are people that are like, you know, Epstein level, Diddy level, but there are people that are higher. There are people that are lower.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, there's, like you said, there's so many people, and people are being, you know, managed by one, blackmailed by one, you know, I mean, people are part of a network, you know, like that, and don't even know they are.
Well, do you think,
know?
would you consider the blackmail game, as far as like those people are concerned, is kind of necessary, right? Because how else do you control billionaires? How else do you control media gods? Like for these people who have the influence and the resources, it's like, the only way these people could be allowed to exist is if we have like videos of you doing not so decent things to children or minors, or like passed out women on drugs and stuff like that. Like that's the only way around.
They are not permitted access to that level of money until that's
what I'm saying. Yeah. So they specifically choose, would this be one of our guys who we could bring up, and who would actually do the things to catch on camera? I mean, they do this to presidents even, and like, you know, like with those pee rituals and stuff. Like,
it's called steady hands. Steady hands. They're known to do the wrong thing. They're known.
Well, it's initiation, right? Like, and that's how these, initiatory societies or cults or things like that have, existed since time immemorial, right? Because the initiation to, get into the inner circles, the higher levels, require doing things that they can blackmail you for. And then those things, there is some kind of power draw from performing those kinds of rituals, those kinds of transgressive acts that they actually get power from in a metaphysical level. But there's also we're drawing you in, we have the dirt on you, you're one of us, you're vetted out, and also we're doing these ritual things together that we're actually drawing some kind of energy from to gain that kind of power. I mean, I think, maybe that's woo or whatever, but I think that there's a lot of levels to it, that it's not just the compromise, but the activity that they do that becomes blackmailable. It has itself some kind of power. That's what they're doing.
I mean, even if you did look at it on a purely material level, you're still rewriting consciousness ultimately. You're changing the threshold of taboo for a person, which makes them completely rewritable as a human being. Their values are up for sale at that point. Their sense of identity, who they are, who they're loyal to, what they call their home, their own community. So it's there is a lot of tangible, not even the psychic power or the spiritual power, but straight up psychic control.
Suppression of consciousness. Drive you into the human, debase. It's to debase the form of consciousness. So they take it out on the human form. And if they cannot kill someone, they cannot exhibit power. So I see a lot of the religious tenets as kind of incorrect. They do this so that you see them. And when you see it, they're in charge. And we don't see them kill people, but their inner circle does. And they don't want to end up on the short list. And all you got, slowly you get these people on the team. And there was some European guy, and he was dragged into this, and they were trying to get him to be fully malevolent. And he didn't get on board with it. So now he lives a very small life. He doesn't make money like he used to. But he explained it very simply. You're not getting your hands on the stuff that they don't want to disappear until you are a known bad. That is how they secure their network, the end. And that's going to go on until we get rid of slavery. And that's kind of what this is about, because Israel and Ukraine have very lax, when you talk about skin bank and organ harvesting and the buying and selling of goyim. Those two countries have very lax statutes. So it's jurisdictional arbitrage. And then they try to get away with every dirty trick. It's every dirty trick. Don't even look at the map and think the jurisdictions are relevant, because they're fucking criminals and they're international. It's a globe with no lines on it. And then you just go back to military science. What are they capable of? And they want to keep printing. They've been in charge of the printing, and I think they got separated from the printer during the Biden years. And I think they're running out of money. Like, I'm pretty optimistic about all this shit. The end of the world is not coming, but the end of someone's world is coming. And I'm pretty sure it's the slavers and the cannibals and the pedos.
Otherwise, they would resort to escalating World War III, considering like all the seemingly disparate conflicts in, you know, Far East to South America to Europe. And eventually it's going to coalesce to this like Pax Judaica narrative where it's like Israel controls the whole East because that's what they were designed to do. It'll be the global surveillance state.
I don't see that happening.
Hopefully not. I mean, it would suck. I don't want to go through World War III.
Well, think about it like this. If you think there's going to be a digital control grid, are you going to be required to use a stable coin? No. No. You won't be required to do it. So when I say you're going to volunteer for your own hell in the future, you just have to know what it looks like. And I think it's going to get better. Information is going to break out. Jetsons make Big Brother watch. Flintstones think Big Brother is the surveillance state. Jetsons say, oh, you want to peek, do you? Great. Watch the public. And then we'll put public documents, like blockchain, public ledgers. And we will turn Big Brother's eyeball into everything in the public because you don't have privacy in public. So it's going to be more security driven. And a lot of the fraud that we're suffering in every level will go down. We've been indoctrinated for 50 years and lied to in every way. And the lies that a printing press will support look like witchcraft. Pure fake world that they can just print up and everybody be doing it. So
it's sorcery. I mean, like it really is. And that's what it always has been. And that's, I think that, it's the ability to like turn, a piece of paper into something that you can trade for, something that you can eat. Like, that's straight up sorcery. It's, magical conjuring, like that didn't exist for, the vast majority of human history. So, the idea, you clarify for me, Donnie, like you think that like you're saying that the transparency of the blockchain is something that will like expose that? Or do you think that like blockchain is, potentially the tool that they can use to like gain more control, like by tokenizing everything?
You do not have to use a blockchain. Let me be clear. These fucking people hate blockchain. So all of the bad people in the universe hate the concept of a blockchain because they want the worst of both worlds. They want freedom of religion so that they can practice human sacrifice. They're not going to tell it to you like that. They're not going to make it that simple and that easy. They're going to tell you you're going to lose your ability to worship your God way before they tell you the only reason they want freedom of religion is to practice human sacrifice. So when you understand how the sleight of hand and all of this stuff is going to go, it's every single step of the way there's an argument. But when you put all of the documentation online as a method, you're placing these documents in the public on an open source public ledger that anyone can look at. The people who hide things absolutely do not want that. They absolutely can't handle it.
Except that like blockchain and internet, all of this stuff is predicated on like how their grid, their system of generating and providing energy, right? Like it doesn't exist without that, right?
Okay, at scale. Okay, if we're gonna lose that electricity component, then all of our ATM cards aren't going to work either. So When we talk about the blockchain systems are way more secure than all of our ATMs. That's not really the problem. The problem is they control the far end of the money supply. And we don't control the far end of the money supply, except on a blockchain we do. Because there's no super users in a blockchain system. We're all peers. And we can all only operate at the same level. So we all become senators. Nobody gives me commands. Nobody can overrule the adjudication of the blockchain. Your statute is irrelevant. Machine code is going to defeat statutes.
Well,
So
but to the degree that, like, you know, these things, these coins and things like that, like, take the, like, energy, like, to allocate them into existence, right?
Proof of work is done as a method to ensure that no one is printing money for free. So because you have to solve on a proof of work blockchain, because you have to solve those equations, you are demonstrating proof of work. You had machines running, you spent electricity on them. There is a kilowatt hour basis for that work, and it is not fake.
On top of that, there's an enforced scarcity aspect to Bitcoin, meaning one day the very last Bitcoin probably will be.
I'm discussing blockchain. The thing about Bitcoin is it's a working prototype. None of that was ever meant to be a production model. And it has been intentionally spoofed to everybody. 21 million coins is not enough liquidity. And all the liquidity was done. The mining rewards are done as a prototype. Most of the mining is between now and like 2050. And then like you mine the last Bitcoin for 90 years or some stupid shit. So this is a proof of concept system. And Wall Street got a hold of it, turned it into a financial product.
An asset, pretty much.
Well, but that's not what it is.
No,
now, they're intentionally muddying the waters. Like I said, the financial industry is one of the things that's going to go. The economists, the bankers, you don't need a bank. You don't need a Federal Reserve because, and there's so many coins that you're not locked into one of them. So if you don't like the way your government spends money, you don't even have to use that currency. So,
Argentina coin or something.
And they're intentionally submarining every program because when you look at a digital price chart, that's not truth. If anybody knows who Ian Carroll is, he started off with a really good thing, and now he's one of the Muppets. But he started off with GameStop, and GameStop was the thing that I needed to look at was look at how all of the mechanics of GameStop are messed up. And the whole GameStop thing, if you go look into that, it's a good 20 hours or so of, oh shit. But that's how the manipulation works in Wall Street. They can't perform that shit on chain. The liquidity to the next block is not guaranteed. They can't naked short against it. They can't, all these dynamics. It's not available to anything that only has 21 million coins. Tesla has 3 billion shares. Why are they in the same tranche with that liquidity disparity? That would explain the wild-eyed price, wouldn't it? Something's trading at a money velocity of X amount rollover every day. You put something with 21 million liquidity, it goes like this. It shouldn't even really be in that and in any kind of trading tranche with something that has billions because it only has 21 million. So when I say that whole thing is a propaganda fest, I don't even know where to start because I don't know where you guys are at with that. I was in that.
I mean, I know this.
I know that shit like back of my hand.
Yeah, with an options market, it's almost like well known by now that people could like have shares that don't exist to be spoken for, which creates like squeezes and like these crazy changes in IV, and that's a problem. You know, that means the stock market as we know it is not a rational machine. It's almost like it's just built on psychology at this point, like feelings.
But that's the deception. You're getting people to buy and sell things based on what you're broadcasting. That has nothing to do with
underlying asset.
All of it. Oh, underlying asset is the nice way of saying it. What about the currency that has no numeraire and isn't nailed down to anything? And I could stretch it. If I can stretch on a digital display the distance of a dollar from 1 to 101 I've interjected a 1% digital fuckery to my display. Has nothing to do with the trading, has nothing to do with the dollar, has nothing to do with anything. My digital display can be rigged to have digital attack vectors to make green line go green and red line go red. And it's got nothing to do with which asset moved. Did anybody buy any? None of it. None of it. They could trade their own. If it's not done on chain, money velocity was done on a Cisco server somewhere. Somebody, Sam Bankman-Fried did this. So when I say, an exchange is a place on a financial battlefield where you can perform manipulation that you can't do it from. As an end user, I have one position and Robinhood has another position, and then another exchange has a position against Robinhood, and they can play together against all of us, and they can front run us in 3/4 of a second on a 15-minute chart.
I mean, really, the only people who could possibly win it in the options game is people who already have a cash secured put or like a covered call, because they have the underlying, supposedly the underlying asset. So it's like if it goes tits up, it's not like they're gambling off of just cash off of lotto tickets. At least if they lose, they're actually making a sale, or they're purchasing like a block of shares. But if it is just like, you're trying to just manipulate, like you're trying to create option spreads, like I don't really have money for 100 shares, but I could manipulate calls or puts and make them like work against each other. So I could just control. It's not going to work. Like you're better off literally just using like, I don't know, like the S&P as a savings account, because at least then, it's like you just use your income to try to expand it. But yeah, it's like, it's a rigged casino. It's the house always wins.
Yes.
So if you're the guy who's dealing, not who's betting, then you're probably going to come out ahead.
And that's why blockchain. It's just a real, like a lot of, excuse me. Blockchain hits several things because any documents that are done that we don't want fraud in can be put into public. I mean, if you think about it, if you're trading publicly and you're not in the phone book, you don't really have that right to privacy when you're in public. Public markets are entirely different than private. So when you're in public, you don't have a right to privacy. When you take that system and put it on a blockchain, everyone who relies on a lack of transparency or a super user position loses. Everyone. So it pulls a whole lot of people out of the fuckery game instantly. And then you find out how many middlemen are involved in the process. We're not even talking fuckery. Like you need a Series 5 or Series 7 trader to get certain things. And if that guy's a fraud, it's got nothing to do with the system. That guy's a single point of failure in your way. So your broker, his boss, anybody, the CFO of the brokerage could be running shit that causes the broker. I mean, it's every fucking game you can imagine all at the same time. And there's several levels of fraud that are statutorily accepted. So they're permitted to go. There's some brokerages, they accept a fine. We're going to make $1 billion and we're going to pay $148 million in fines. Rigged game, 100%. Signals intelligence, statutes, jurisdictional arbitrage. If you can't get away with it here, go to the Cayman Islands.
Well, all right. Well, let's move on to something else. Actually, let's go back to what we were originally talking about, alternative media personalities. Jay, you've been waiting patiently. What are your thoughts on this increase in these personalities and their influence, their followings, and you can talk about anyone specific, and do you think this is going to be some sort of bubble that pops in some sort of way?
They definitely realize that people quit watching the news, and they definitely realize people were watching Joe Rogan. So I think everything is fallout from
absolutely
the audience Joe Rogan.
Absolutely. Good point.
Tim Pool, I think, probably started off a legitimate journalist. I don't know. He seemed to be in a lot of locations strategically when they happened. But since then, I remember during COVID, he was saying, I don't feel sorry for the people who took the jab to keep their jobs. I don't feel sorry for those people at all. And then he'd say, okay, guys, we're going to go to the members only chat. It's like, you're also like, you're doing the same thing these people are and then calling them out on it. He's also stoking these Civil War fires. He's been doing that for years. And I've seen in like the last couple of weeks, he's kind of taken on Candace's narrative and her rhetoric. So I think we're going to see Tim get super conspiratorial in 2026 and try to be the opposite Candace. I think he's going to take that upon himself.
I think Tim's money comes from Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll get real easy to find out who's being supported to be a Muppet by Israel. And if you haven't seen it already, it's going to get real clear in the next year.
Yeah. And I guess as far as the bubble bursting, we're already waking up to it. So I'd say we're the outliers, maybe.
Fair enough. Yeah. I hope more people do. I really do, because it's unfortunate because it was a nice thought that we had, this new, roster stream of media people or media in general, but it's just been so corrupted that it's hard to tell. And then we had that new Nick Shirley investigation, right? And it's all really great, looks really great, sounds really great. But then you have people coming out, bashing him, saying, well, he's not a journalist. He was showing up there before the place was open. Just because you don't see any kids doesn't mean it's fraud. And you got, Ryan Dawson is posted saying, well, we've been aware of this fraud since 2014, which is, yeah, that's true. But at least there's some light being shined on it. And so, yeah, I don't know I don't know all the facts to that, but it's good to see that people are trying at least. I don't know. And I don't know what his intentions are, but at the very least, if there's light getting shined on fraud, at least someone's doing something. Maybe someone's doing something about it, and hopefully something happens as a result of it.
I would encourage everybody to try to do stuff like that, but I'm certain you will not be placed into the algorithm until someone else decides you're going there.
And I think as regards the kind of managed disclosure of fraud itself, a lot of this, what I was talking about before, with Doge and stuff like this, is well, there's so much fraud, there's so much redundancy, there's so much this and that. What are the ways that we can solve this is by implementing digital IDs and increased surveillance and AI management and things like this. So in a lot of circumstances, I think that the exposure of fraud and malfeasance is by design and is part of the program to get people to sign on to increased surveillance methods that will affect them on a granular level, because in the name of fraud, in the name of border security, immigration, blah blah. People will voluntarily accept systems that will be increasingly authoritarian, because the narrative is otherwise there's fraud and malfeasance, which is bad too. It's all bad.
No, absolutely. Chris, what are your thoughts on the future of fraud now that we see where technology is going? Over the past year, we've seen, I think, one of the biggest impacts of the year, I think, is the evolution of AI and AI technology. Deep fakes are just ridiculous. I saw one post the other day, I reposted it, of this one AI program where you can. It's like a webcam program where you completely changes your face into someone else, and it looks so real, and it's so scary because like you can do like cam girls, you can pretend to be a girl, you can do all this ridiculous stuff, and we've seen so many. I mean, with Grok if you use X, and you see people's posts and especially comments. Like if someone posts, for example, a picture in the comments, you're likely to see people using Grok to make AI changes, and like sometimes they look so real. What do you think fraud is going to be like in the year to come?
Well, the uncomfortable truth about scammers in our economy that a lot of us don't want to admit is that scammers are actually good for the economy. They circulate more money. And the truth of the matter is, like, it's harder to scam needy people. So chances are your targets are going to be like old people sitting on some kind of like retirement fund, which is terrible in and of itself morally. But, mechanically, like it would function better that way. So also, for example, like these guys getting scammed out of sex stuff, like you were saying, it's like some Indian dude pretending to be a hot chick. It's like, oh yeah, send me $20 more and I'll send you more stuff, or I'll tell you where we can meet up. So it's like, that's always going to be a thing because, there's no real mechanical economic incentive to just get rid of all scammers. The truth is, again, they stimulate the economy. So that's one thing. And as far as the AI thing with media goes, I think, people are already complaining about institutionalized media being all woke. That means the people, who are in charge of all the resources to make the shows and movies we're being force fed, like they have an agenda, and we're going to be forced to, experience their agenda, like, because that's all the media we get. But now you're getting these quote unquote alternative media producers like Emily Eucas, for example. She made the first AI produced cartoon with continuity, and it's basically, she's a self-proclaimed neo-Nazi, and the show is clearly like promoting an authoritarian Nazi agenda. So what's probably going to happen is if the institutionalized media stays quote unquote woke, then you're going to have more people on the other end using AI to make stuff like Michael Jackson singing George Bush to 9/11, or jet fuel can't melt steel beams. So you're going to see more people with, I guess, like fringe opinions gravitate more towards AI generated media because it's the new thing. It's the new frontier, right? It's less controlled, in an artist sense. So that's my prediction with like scammers and AI generated media. It's going to be utilized more. People are going to make money off of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, what are your thoughts? Quick thoughts on that?
What do you guys think about the possibility that super chats are just money laundering? Like people make tons of money on these super chats and donations. Like that's got to be, I don't know, easier to conceal in some ways.
Yeah, that's totally possible. I did want to talk about streamers and streaming personalities as well as alternative media people. So we can get into that a little bit. So that's a good segue. But yeah, I've totally heard people talk about that sort of thing before. But yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. You can just have people make different accounts and be chopping in money here and there throughout each episode. You have some people that are streaming 5, 6, 7 days a week, sometimes up to 5, 6, 7, 8 to 10, maybe more hours a day, right? So yeah, there's a lot of that's a big window to allow some laundering transactions, I think. So I'm sure there's people that have put together that in some shape or form, I would imagine. Yeah. What do you think, Chris?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry, I got distracted with the comment. What were you saying?
Oh, no worries, man. Jay was just asking us about the thought of super chats being a form of money laundering.
Oh, that's actually brilliant. I never thought of that. Yeah, it's probably very easy to game that, especially if you're a cartel guy. You prop up a streamer, you pay them like a few $100,000 and say, all right, just stay there, and we have a year deal where you just get a bunch of guys like donating money through super chats to the streamer, and then they'll just like circulate the money back. Interesting, because that's like a classic. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Are they even real? Well, are they even real people? You know,
Right.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and to the degree of like, you know, you mentioned streamers and stuff. Like, are some of these even like not real people? Like, is the whole thing like an artifice that, you know, is just getting people to watch and getting some real people to give their money to? But, you know, like, I mean, who knows that any person that you're watching doing a stream is at this point like a real authentic human being, or that any of the other people in the chat are authentic human beings. Like that's where, you know, you start getting to is like, I mean, like what are we looking at that is real? And, you know, we're talking about, you know, in the last year, the explosion of, you know, generative AI and all this. I mean, how long has this stuff existed?
Well,
You know, if we're seeing it now, I mean, it didn't just come online. You know, like we're seeing it, something that's been in development for years, right?
Well, this kind of practice is not new, because think about like art. Art, for example, has been used to counterfeit loads of dirty money, because it's the same stuff. Like those paintings could easily just be considered generated content. How do you know if it's this esteemed reclusive artist? He could just be running a sweatshop of dudes that paint just like him, pumping out these paintings and then jacking up the price. And this whole operation could just be for laundering money. So yeah, it's a classic model. It's a classic grift.
Didn't that how they say Ukraine paid off Hunter Biden because his paintings sold for like millions of dollars and they're junk?
Yeah.
But I mean, like to your point, like what is like an authentic piece of art and what's forged? I mean, you have no idea.
Because people,
like, I mean, like, did you ever
Unless
see
you're Lovejoy,
this?
yeah.
Did you ever see F is for Fake? It's like a kind of a mockumentary that Orson Welles made back in the 70s. Yeah, I mean, and it's just like, well, you know, what is a real piece of art? What is, you know, a forged piece of art? Like nobody knows. And if the people that are involved in like auctioning and authentication, if they're like part of it, I mean, you know, that could be like people have, you know, in museums, you know, things that aren't like authentic. I mean, we like there's no way of knowing, right? And that's like, you know, analog, you know, that, you know, fraud. Like that's, you know, that's not even like this digital stuff. So I mean, that's but yeah, I think or like, well, what was the other one? The exit through the gift shop. You know, like it's just like, what, you know, what is any of this art? Like, you know, who makes it? Like, you know, what is considered to be art? Who elevates, like, you know, that this person, you know, their art is valuable in the first place?
I will say this, when it comes to like counterfeit art, there is actually like a whole thing behind it. There's like a science or a mythology kind of building. So what you like a good forgery isn't exactly like a one-to-one copy of something that already exists. A good forger masters the style of a certain artist, and then they're able to create something new and say, this is by this guy. It's just, it was lost for all these years and it's finally been recovered. And that's kind of banking on like not just like the art style itself, but also like the meta narrative surrounding the artist, like his lore and his story, and which could also be completely fabricated, especially if you say the guy's dead, you know?
Well, and to the degree that like the institutions are, you know, complicit, like, you know,
yeah, you could buy them out.
The Smithsonian and, you know, any given art museum and the auction houses and, you know, like what are they involved in? Who are these people that are behind it? Like, you know, I mean, we really have no idea, because like, you know, there's such a hierarchy of gatekeeping that, you
it's
know,
esoteric.
Experts. Yeah, I mean, it is esoteric, and these people are like, you know, occultists, and, you know, we really don't know who any of these people are that are saying that this is the real thing, or this has any value at all.
It's the insidiousness of fiat. Not only are they controlling the fake art, but they're valuing it in the fake money, and they're putting the Smithsonian and the Louvre on budgets measured in the fake money. So they have to make serious financial decisions about some rich guy who prints money in his basement walks in and offers somebody $50 million for something, what are they going to do to it? They were going to throw it out the window. This guy just runs a printing press. So
and to the degree of, no, go ahead.
So when you're just looking at that chain of custody and you're looking at how the entire concept of art gets warped by the medium of exchange, you're the next stage of that fiat is a fake painting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to the degree of like what is specifically like the Smithsonian, I mean, was established to like steal artifacts, you know, to like manufacture history, right? I mean, like that's, you know, that's kind of the foundation of all of it. Like, what do they have? You know, like what is in their archives? Like, we don't know. There is no transparency, and they've been, you know, like you know, usurping things that, you know, that were found since its inception, you know, like the mounds, right? Like the Indian mounds, you know, the Smithsonian came in and they usurped like all of these artifacts that were uncovered. We don't know, you know, what these things contained, because you know they have them, they've gate kept it, so they create like the whole narrative of what history is.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like,
and
instead of using high magic, they're using high art instead of magic. It's, I don't know, kind of the same thing.
it is the same thing.
Yep.
You know, it's all kind of, you know, magic. It's all sorcery, even to the degree that that's what language is, right? I mean, you know, language is this, you know, magical, you know, semiotic, you know, symbol, you know, system to represent things, to, you know, in your own mind. Like somebody says something, and like my words are making, you know, something, you know, in your mind.
It's the
right?
magical incantation that turns you into a receiver, and now you know their intention.
And no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick, I feel like it was also the advent of the printing press, like the ability to just mass print something and just distribute it, whether it's a record or like pages or a book. Like that really gives you supremacy over like the language magic, you know?
No question about it. Yeah.
True that.
The replication, the like you know, the dissemination of like one idea, you know, and again, it's like, you know, it's all gatekeeping, and we think that like everything is decentralized now, but it's, you know, the gatekeeping is even like more sophisticated through these algorithms.
Terrence McKenna said language was a virus from outer space. So it's funny you said replicate.
What do y'all think about Terrence McKenna?
Oh,
He's an interesting guy.
I wish I got to meet him.
I think he might have been a major asset though, you know, or agent. You know, I think
Of the entities.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, and like how much of like Joe Rogan, for example, like you know, is disseminating a lot of this, you know, McKenna DMT stuff. Like, I don't know, you know, like he's the one who like made it all popular. It's really interesting. Like,
well, if you're gonna,
it's all in network.
If you're gonna be trauma initiated into some ritual, like, would you rather it be some crazy human sacrifice thing, or would you rather it be like you just get your brains blown out through mushrooms or a solid acid trip and you see some things, you know?
Right.
I prefer that initiation, you know?
Right.
Well, it's interesting though, because like how much of that initiation has been like used.
They tried, yeah, like the god,
like in human sacrifice rituals. Like I mean, you know, a lot of these cultures, you know, they use mushrooms and various plants, like the priest class, like they were on those substances, but they were also giving their like, you know, human sacrifices, those substances when they were sacrificing them. There were remains in Peru that were analyzed in the last few years where like, you know, human sacrifice, you know, victims, they were like given ayahuasca like in the process of being sacrificed. Like they found
MK Ultra
through analysis. I mean, it's it all is. It's you know, I think that psychedelics is a really like multifaceted thing, but that it has been like used in human sacrifice rituals since time immemorial. And like, where did this stuff really come from? Like, who the hell knows?
I mean, it all seems leaning to getting you in a state of like dissociation, whether it's from like pure terror or like pure wonder and amazement or something like just awe-inspiring, something that knocks you off of your basic ontological framework. And then you become supremely suggestible. You're like, oh, by the way, you're psychic or you're the Pharaoh. Like
that's
or
like
the Messiah. You're Jesus.
Yeah, you're Jesus.
Right. It's always you're Jesus.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really interesting. And like how many of these experiences, like, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have had like full impact, like, breakthrough DMT.
I've been broken before.
Right?
I've been broken.
Like,
yeah, some of my most
like
spiritual moments are from that. Yeah.
If you like, I mean, it's just like objective that if you smoke enough DMT, right, like you're going to encounter some kind of entity, right? Like you like break through into a dimension where there are entities. If you like smoke enough of it, like it's like an objective experience. And like, where are those entities and like what are they doing? And like what
What's interesting is like I've explored psychedelics, but that never really set me on a path. I did that first, and then like later in life, I started going down conspiracy rabbit holes that just made me like existentially terrified. So thank God for like the internet, because like immediately I was like, what does a person do about these things? Considering like our reality is run by psychopathic, cannibalistic, like crazy demons. And then they say, raise your consciousness, raise your consciousness, raise your consciousness. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? So once I like leaned more into that, then everything started falling in my head like dominoes, because then it was like, oh, well, there's nothing you can do about it. What can you do? What can you control? And you can't control anything that happens to you. You can only control how you respond. And it's like, and that simple perspective shift was enough for me to like get a lifeline out of that terror. It's like, oh, I get it. Stay grateful. Like look to God or something, the universe or whatever. It helped.
That's good, man. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on. Before we wrap it up here, let's go around the table. Everyone can make 2 or 3 predictions or hopes for the new year. It could cover anything you want, doesn't matter. I'll say a couple. I think that I hope that masculinity starts making its full comeback. Good book I want to recommend by Scott Galloway, Notes on Being a Man. Definitely check that out. But I think masculinity and men have gotten a really fucking bad rap over the last few years. And I hope that it comes back. I hope men start acting like men and want to start acting like men again. So that's one. 2, I think that with the whole Candace Owens and Bridget McCrone thing, I think she's going to give her sex results. Candace will appeal it and come up with some other conspiracy theory, maybe to twist it. And I think she'll just be pumping that tit for years to come. I also predict that with the Epstein files over the next year, next to jack shit will happen. I think they'll be running out the clock maneuvers, just more and more bullshit. There won't be any charges. We'll get new files and more pictures and more teasing and stroking, but yeah, nothing good will come of that. And I think that with the Charlie Kirk killing, Tyler Robinson will be convicted of murder. We're not going to learn very much from the trial, I imagine, and it's just going to eventually get on the fast track to being memory hold, and it won't even be like a Lee Harvey Oswald thing. It'll be less than like a Sirhan thing where they'll stick him in some hospital or jail or something, and we'll just forget about him. So Chris,
What's up?
you next. You next, my friend.
I got two. I'm not good at predictions really, but I guess the two main ones I have is the first one is I think the Democrats are going to win the midterms. I think they're going to like sweep it up a little bit. That might be a distinct possibility. And the second thing is I think anti-Semitism is going to go up a bit, which is going to prompt a lot of like Jewish people to move to Israel. I mean, we talked about all those like media figures like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, all those people. And right now their whole drama is based around Jewishness and Jewish identity and the role that Israel has in the global theater. So I think that's just going to become more of a thing. So those are my two main political predictions. But I also think more people are going to get spiritual. You know, as things get more chaotic, people are going to be pushed more towards like looking inwards. They're like, I can't control any of this shit. You know, like it's the same thing. It's like, what can I control? And hopefully more people like focus on that. So that's all I got.
Cool, man. Jay, how about yourself? What do you got for us?
I predict that the UK will have its first criminal trials decided by AI because they're already saying that 2 to 3 year sentences. We don't care about that. If it's so I think that's going to happen. I think Ron DeSantis will at some point start talking more about eliminating property tax in Florida to try to seal his spot in the presidential run just a little bit later on. I hope that Disclosure Day from Steven Spielberg is an awesome movie. Really hopeful about that. I think that's going to kick up the conversation even more. And I think we're probably going to see some psyop alien invasion, maybe not quite that extreme, but we're going to see more with the UAP crap.
Right on, right on. How about yourself, Donnie? What do you got for us?
The fake news will continue. We will continue to be brought the random people who are not subject matter experts in any particular thing, and they will bring us a message about a story, and they will have no proof to it whatsoever. We will be told what remote viewers have seen. They will never show us a remote viewing. They will not just sit down and fucking do one for us. We will constantly be told that we have a team of remote viewers looking at it right now. So, and I think that whole Muppet thing is going to come to a crash when the money runs out. And all of these layers, like my prediction is the dollar is on its way to a fucking catastrophe, but it's not going to, like, it's not the end of the world. So all of these things are just downstream of that. And I have no idea how long it will take. Not going to lie. I thought this was a lot simpler 5 years ago. And all I really found out in the last 5 years is that my thoughts about humanity, I have overestimated everyone entirely. So I just got to do some expectation management with a bunch of people who, if you need an attorney, you're technically illiterate. Not being shitty. And then the attorneys turned it into a pinball machine instead of a vending machine. So I see more vending machines being installed in politics, and I see more transparency. But the speed, I do hope it happens this year. I do hope some of that happens this year. Like some of it will, but I don't want to wait till 2030 for a bunch of this shit. The idea of Steve Bannon is talking about goddamn Donald Trump running for president in 2028. So I don't know what kind of shit these people smoke. I don't know why that would even be on the table unless there is going to be a collapse of the federal government. Right. So,
well, maybe that's on the table too.
Yep. But primarily that we will just continue to receive the movie and we will get the script and the show. And I don't know how much of that stops for the next 365 days.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Mr. Habsburg Jawlly West, what have you got for us?
Only to the degree that I think making a prediction is nearly impossible in this day and age with what we're going to see with AI. I think that it's just going to get to a point where like really soon, if it's not already here, that we just don't know like what is real and what is not real. This is going to become like the ultimate existential crisis, and people are going to be kind of like channeled into like you have to believe what any chosen person is going to tell you, and it's going to be like completely fractured in terms of like what is any type of consensus reality that everybody's going to go and follow this influencer, because like nobody's going to be able to discern on their own like what is authentic anymore. And I think that like something that I do fear is what Donnie talked about systemic collapse of currency, economic systems, and what might be like on the horizon in terms of like technocratic digital control grid, and I'd say like try for anybody like that cares, try to be able to get some kind of like degree of like subsistence, like to be able to provide for yourself, connect with people in your communities that that farm, like that's kind of what we got, like farm and connect with people that do farm, and just be vigilant, try to like increase your level of discernment, and that's sort of like all we can really do. And don't believe what anybody tells you, so
fair enough, right on. All right, guys, well, thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Thank you guys for your time. It's been a pleasure meeting you guys and conversing and doing podcasts.
Happy New Year.
For the year. Yeah, man. Happy New Year. So I hope the best for you guys. Oh, there goes Jay. I hope the best for you guys in the new year, starting now. And yeah, I hope we guys can we can do some awesome stuff in the new year. Thanks to all the people in the audience, everyone in the chat, all the listeners.
Actually, I do want to end off with one final tip. Notebook LM. It's a free app. I suggest you try it out. Go to Notebook LM. Take this episode, feed it into the link, and just watch it like dissect our whole conversation we just had, like all the themes, all the stuff, and just does it instantly. It even makes a podcast out of your podcast. So it's pretty crazy stuff. Yeah.
Notebook LM. All right.
Yep.
Also, I'll give you, sorry, I meant to give you guys a chance to tell everyone where to find you, if you want to promote anything. Chris, is there anything else you want to promote?
I mean, me and Vince, Eudomania, we're gonna start like streaming games together, so that's something I'm looking forward to, and I'll give you guys the plug when it happens.
Cool. How about you, Jay?
No, I think I might have 6 followers on X, and I'm pretty happy with those 6 people. So come find me if you want to. ERRANT.
Yeah, perfect. Donnie.
nullhypothesisofpolitics.com. Books are free. Podcast is there. I'm on Twitter at U2030. I'm not too hard to find. I mean, I'm at the bottom of the fucking algorithm, but I'm not that hard to find.
Aren't we all?
If you're looking, I'm ridiculously obvious, but nobody's told to look. So
fair enough. Habsburg.
I have a Twitter feed. It's Habsburg Jawlly West, accountable to me, but just kind of out here, on my own, and just really appreciate all the invites, Jordan, and getting to come on and chat with you. Like, it's real cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we love having you, man. We love having you. So thanks again. Everyone, please subscribe to the Divulgence podcast, which you are watching right now. You can get us on YouTube. We're on Rumble now. Rumble. You can get us on Spotify or wherever you get your audio podcasts. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all the followers over the last year. I appreciate all the followers in general. I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't think anyone was interested. So I really do appreciate it. And guys, I really do appreciate your time today. So you guys have a happy New Year, and yeah, stay safe. Enjoy yourselves.
Good night.
Again, man.
Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Happy